When it comes to nerd stuff like this, I'm a guy who speaks his mind. If I like something, I'll like it, and if I hate something, I'll hate it. Everybody else be damned. And this video might be the best representation of that because the trailers for both Justice League and Spider-Man Homecoming, some complaints, some valid, others not, aside, have been largely very, very well received. And I think they both kind of suck, and they don't really help either their films in terms of building up suspense and, anticipation. So this is going to be a special one. I'm going to piss off the DCU fanboys and the MCU fanboys. And fuck them both, because they're both hateable for wildly different reasons and sometimes very similar ones. But let's start off with the first trailer that came out, and that was Justice League. And the lead up to this trailer is ironically very similar to the lead up to all of the DCU films so far. Warner Brothers basically did the whole trailer for a trailer thing that I almost always hate it, but in a kind of team movie like this, where every character gets a separate spotlight, I think that's fine. They generated a lot of excitement. The trailers, the teasers for the bigger trailer were actually really good. They, got me pumped up, and they really gave you the sense of that this is going to be something big, that this is going to be something on the level of the BVS Comic-Con trailer, which remains one of the best things, trailer-wise, I've ever seen. It's just really, really damn good. And when the actual trailer dropped, I was, like a lot of people were with Man of Steel and BVS and SS, kind of just, about the whole thing. Not particularly angry, but also not particularly excited. In fact, I'm actually kind of less excited because it looks like the movie's biggest strength, the visuals, is not going to be there, and it's not giving me any interesting story hooks to latch onto. And considering the fact that the story's not going to make up for potentially shitty visuals, I don't know what the hell this movie's going to have for it that's going to save it in my eyes. Now, when BVS was coming out, and just before it came out, Chris Terrio, the guy Ben Affleck brought in to write the script, he wrote Justice League and BVS simultaneously, and he always stated that Justice League was always going to be a simpler storyline, that it's going to conform more to the standard tropes and story beats that we know in, Justice League storylines, but in also comic book films, that it wasn't going to be as the crazy experimental mix of Batman Forever, Dark Knight Returns, Kingdom Come, Death of Superman that BVS was. And from a business side of things, that makes a lot of sense, especially now the DC films are in a very precarious situation where they keep trying to make it big, they keep trying to win over audiences and critics and get the big money, and they haven't really ever succeeded with that thus far. And people still keep waiting for that one movie that's going to land with everybody, that's going to get great critical reception, that's going to be loved by audiences, and that's going to make a shitload of money. And they're still waiting for that. But on the other hand, it made me really sad because I like the fact that BVS is kind of crazy. I like the fact that it is this weird mishmash of different story ideas that kind of managed to work by the end, that are filtered through Zack Snyder. That movie is insanity. It's totally crazy, and that's why I like it. And that's why I was kind of sad that the Justice League movie was just going to kind of be standard McDefault hero origin story, well, superhero team origin story. But with Zack Snyder involved, I thought, okay, if the movie's not going to be like a narrative masterpiece or narrative madness, it was at least going to look really, really damn good. And from this trailer, the movie looks like a kind of a big CGI turd, and there's like a multitude of issues with it that go past the CGI. It's also kind of the way the film is presented and the way the action is shot. The first big problem, I think, with the movie is that everything kind of looks the same, because the movie has this overwhelming black and blue color palette over everything, and everything just kind of blends into one another. Like, Aquaman doesn't pop out from the scenery, neither does Batman, neither does Wonder Woman, neither does the Batmobile, and everything just kind of bleeds together and looks kind of the same. And there's also no sense of scale to anything. Like, when the Nightcrawler is shown, it's that big fucking tank thing that Batman has in the tunnel. That should be like the big reveal of the trailer. That should be like the thing where you're like, holy crap, look at this thing. Look how freaking giant it is and look how badass it is. But considering the fact that how everything is shot very close up, and how the camera is constantly not showing you the action. It's constantly like moving around, doing really quick cuts, and it never really shows you the action. It shows you like the beginning of something and the aftermath of it, but not the process in between that gets us there. A really good example of this is when Batman throws the grenade at the parademon. You see him dodge the bullets, and then he throws the grenade, and then the grenade, latches off to the parademon off screen, and then when we get to the parademon, he's already, exploding, and he's dying. And the Nightcrawler also. When it's like shooting the parademon in the sky, you don't fucking see the parademon. It's like tucked into the corner somewhere, then it dies, and then we cut back to the Nightcrawler, and then once again there's no sense of scale because we're quickly zooming in on something and we're not seeing the full picture. We're seeing that it's killing lots of stuff off screen, and it would be kind of cool if the fucking camera didn't keep moving away from the action. It's almost like they know the CGI doesn't look good, or it doesn't look good yet, and then they're purposefully avoiding you to show what is actually going on. Another really good example of this kind of quick cut bullshit is is when Wonder Woman leaps into the air and she gets the parademons off of Batman. It's the same thing that I just said with the grenade. It's so quick, and it happens basically off screen. The actual process of killing the parademons, that you're just like, what the fuck? The trailer is so afraid to show you anything that looks CGI-ish, and it's so afraid to show you anything that resembles actual action that there's no spectacle to anything. There's no money shot in this trailer, and that would be fine if the trailer actually gave you some good narrative hooks. But it doesn't. Like I said, that the storyline is inherently going to play it a lot more safe with the formula. And if there are any twists and turns, Warner Brothers is it either doesn't have any, or Warner Brothers is so afraid of repeating the Doomsday thing from BVS that they're keeping everything close to the chest. But like I already said, the Comic-Con trailer for BVS is spectacular because it gives you great visual cues, great visuals that help show you what the story is going to look like, what's happening in the storyline, and through that great visual aesthetic, it gives you nice little tidbits of what's happening in the storyline. You see Bruce Wayne in Metropolis. That's a big hook already in that trailer. You see the nightmare sequence. You see Superman in Congress. You see all sorts of stuff that both narratively and visually, stimulate you and give you that hook, that desire to see the movie, that desire to see what the fuck is going to happen in the actual flick. And the Justice League trailer doesn't have that, and it also doesn't even have a good escalation. There is a build-up, and then it gets to like some kind of medium of like a 6 and 7 out of 10, and then just kind of stays there. But the way the music, explodes, and the way they kind of show you more cutaways of action, the trailer feels like the trailer thinks it's being epic and shit, but the way it's shot and the way it's presented just doesn't work. It feels like a mediocre musician thinking he's, Van fucking Halen or something, and he just isn't, and he's completely unaware of the fact that he's not Van Halen, that he's just kind of whatever. And other issues that I have with the trailer are The Flash. The Flash is really weird to explain, but I think there's too many special effects associated with him. Like every time the Flash moves, there's like this big, overwhelming burst of electricity out of him that you don't even see what he's doing. And once again, it kind of feels like they didn't know what to do with the Flash, or the Flash's visuals aren't completed, and so they're just kind of overcompensating by trying to make you see that the visual effects aren't good. And for a Zack Snyder movie, that's kind of unforgivable. That's like, Zack Snyder is the visual guy, and you would expect that if he did a Justice League movie, even if the storyline is shit, it would at least look good. And I don't see that here. I feel like that the movie isn't coming together. I feel like if this was the Comic-Con trailer, if this was the trailer they showed off like 5 or 6 months ago, during like the September-October period, I think it would have been fine. I think it would have been like, wow, you just finished production, and this early on in post, you're showing us this stuff. That's actually pretty cool. But the fact of the matter is, this movie is going to be out in about 7 months, and honestly, the Wonder Woman trailer, the very first one we saw, looked considerably more completed than this one does. And the Wonder Woman trailer came out a year ahead of the movie. This thing is like 6 and 7 months ahead of its release. So yeah, besides Jason Momoa, and I guess some of the humor and Jason Momoa and that kind of stuff, I feel like this is a big dud. I feel like this is a big fuck up, and I just really, really didn't like it. But then we get to the Spider-Man Homecoming one. And this thing put a big smile on my face because I had no intention of watching any trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming because I felt like the fact that they steal so much stuff from Miles Morales in this movie just wholeheartedly with complete blatantness was shocking. But and I wasn't expecting to watch any more trailers. But then I opened my Twitter account because for some reason I have that thing, even though it's killing my faith in humanity, what little I have left of it progressively every time I go there. I opened my Twitter and I kept reading tweets about the new Spider-Man trailer. And everyone kept saying they spoiled the entire movie. And I was just sitting there and thinking to myself and trying not to burst out laughing and thinking, no, there's no fucking way they did this Amazing Spider-Man 2 thing where they actually spoil the entire movie. Because BVS still gets a lot of shit for revealing Doomsday. But Amazing Spider-Man 2 is considerably worse. Because BVS just spoiled Doomsday. Amazing Spider-Man 2 spoils everything. There is literally a 3-minute trailer, an official trailer from Sony no less, that came out like 4 or 5 months ahead of the movie's release that pretty much shows you a condensed version of the entire fucking movie. Literally every big story decision, every character beat, every reveal, everything is spoiled in that trailer. And when I was reading the tweets, I could not fathom what demonic force would possess Marvel and Sony to do it again. And then out of morbid curiosity, I went and watched the trailer, and it's not as bad as ASM 2, but it is really, really bad. You really do get almost the entire movie just from watching the trailer. And there is one thing that they show that is kind of cool, but I'm kind of mixed on it, and I'm going to explain that later on. But just the fact that they kind of rip off the strategy of ASM2's marketing campaign is just, it's fucking hilarious. Like, that is unanimously called one of the worst marketing campaigns in modern movies. It is the standard for what you should not do. And then seeing them do it again, just damn, son. But if you thought that Spider-Man Homecoming wasn't done with the plagiarism of itself and other Marvel properties, motherfucker, you need to see this thing to believe it. So, Marvel has a certain formula when it comes to the first superhero movie in a franchise. Usually they're origin movies, and the whole thing is they watch Iron Man 1, and then they rip it the fuck off over and over and over and over and over again. For example, First Avenger is kind of Iron Man 1 with a few bells and whistles thrown in and some of them thrown out. Thor 1 is fucking Iron Man 1 again. Same thing with Ant-Man. Doctor Strange is also literally fucking Iron Man 1 with a few bells and whistles thrown out. These movies all operate under the same formula, and the fact that Marvel has plagiarized themselves so blatantly over and over again is pretty much one of the best farcical jokes they've unintentionally made out of themselves. But this movie doesn't plagiarize Iron Man 1, it just kind of plagiarizes Iron Man 3. And the reason I'm kind of mixed on this decision is because I like the fact that we are actually acknowledging Iron Man 3 in a positive light, because everybody, both in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the people actually making the Marvel Cinematic Universe, have pretty much more or less disowned Iron Man 3 entirely. You know, there's the whole thing where Age of Ultron blatantly ignores Tony's entire character arc from Iron Man 3 just so Age of Ultron can even happen. Then we have Trevor getting abducted by the real Mandarin so they can do, I guess, Iron Man 4 in 2020 as like the send-off for Robert Downey Jr. and to placate stupid fanboys. And then there's just the fact that just nobody talks about Iron Man 3. Like, you're always going to hear people talk about Winter Soldier or Guardians of the Galaxy or fucking any of these movies. Like, even Ant-Man gets more of a reputation. But you're never going to get anybody who's going to say Iron Man 3 except to bitch and moan about the Mandarin reveal, even though Iron Man 3 is actually the best MCU movie, and it's also the most profitable MCU movie. If you don't believe me, in comicbookmovie.com, they've recently been doing like a list of articles that show you how profitable each of the DCU films have been thus far. And at the end of these articles, there's a comparison piece between the DC movies and the Marvel movies. And Iron Man 3 is right on top of that fucking list. Let me rephrase that. Iron Man 3 is more profitable than both of the fucking Avengers movies and probably Civil War. And these are all of the movies I've just mentioned are all billion-dollar flicks, and Iron Man 3 is the most fucking profitable of them all once you remove production costs, actor costs, marketing costs, paying theaters. Once you remove all that shit, Iron Man 3 is actually the most fucking profitable one of these movies, which makes it really annoying, besides the quality thing, that they so openly, well, secretly, quote-unquote, hate it. And I do like the fact that Tony is the guy who's actually giving Peter the advice, like he's speaking from personal experience, so that's cool. But you've already stolen so much shit from Miles Morales. Like, do you fucking need to give Spider-Man / Peter Parker a similar character arc to fucking Tony Stark from Iron Man 3? And another thing they steal from Iron Man is the whole idea of the Vulture being the dark Tony Stark. And this is a problem with the Iron Man films as well, where all of the fucking bad guys in those movies are dark versions of Tony Stark. Obadiah Stane is Tony if Tony was just obsessed with profits. Justin Hammer is Tony if his ego completely overwhelmed everything else, and he was considerably shittier at making stuff. Venko, or Whiplash, is Tony if Tony's whole negative relationship with his dad completely overwhelmed him and turned him into a violent drunk. Aldrich Killian is probably the most polar opposite of Tony in the fact that Aldrich Killian created a supervillain persona in the Mandarin to manipulate people and to escalate the war on terror so that he can, make the weapons market go boom, to make it go up so he can sell extremis and make a profit out of it. Whereas Tony, he made a superhero persona to basically privatize world peace, to make war not happen, or to decrease war, and to make sure that there's peace in the world. And Aldrich Killian is literally the polar opposite of Tony Stark. And then these motherfuckers, they're just like, oh yeah, the Vulture's like the dark Iron Man. He's the dark Tony Stark. And I'm like, that's not original. That's not particularly interesting. And you fucking done it several times before. And what else? Oh yeah, they also steal something from Batman, and I'm gonna acknowledge right up front that this is kind of dubious, even from me. But in the first issue of Tom King's Batman from Rebirth that was drawn by David Finch, there's this whole segment where a plane is falling out of the sky, and Batman has to use his grappling hooks and his various gadgets to make sure to make it lean in between skyscrapers, and to make it land into the ocean of the city so it doesn't destroy Gotham, because a fucking plane falling out of the sky in the middle of a heavily populated city is, bad news. And then they fucking rip it off in this thing where the Vulture throws Spider-Man onto a plane, breaks one of the engines, and then Spider-Man has to, use his web slinging and super strength to make it tilt in the sky so it lands in the Hudson River. It's literally the same fucking set piece from the Batman comics. And there's also the fact that the movie is continuing that really bland Marvel trend where it just looks so blech and muddy, and it looks like it was filmed in the back of a parking lot, which is a real shame because Guardians of the Galaxy is filmed with a new digital camera. And Guardians of the Galaxy looks considerably more visually interesting than pretty much most of the Marvel movies since Phase 1. And to see the fact that Spider-Man's movie, that the Earth-centric films consistently keep looking like drab, boring shit really gets on my nerves. And ultimately, the only thing I'm 100% positive on from the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, much like the Justice League one, it has to do with a particular character, and that's the Vulture. Keaton looks like he's acting the shit out of the movie. He looks like he's really invested in the role, and it looks like when he quit negotiations, he didn't just come back for a paycheck. He came back because he wanted to really give a great performance, and I think he's going to give one. And the Vulture redesign looks fantastic. The Vulture has consistently looked like one of the shittiest supervillains and comic book characters, period, and he looks really good here. He looks really damn good. And that's pretty much the only wholly positive thing I can say about the film. And there's one other thing I want to talk about Spider-Man Homecoming that's not directly related to the trailer, but shortly after the trailer came out, Amy Pascal, who's like one of the big heads of Sony Pictures and one of the big reasons why the Amazing Spider-Man franchise and Ghostbusters were just big debacles for everybody all around, she pretty much implied that Sony is going to want to remove Spider-Man from the MCU after the Homecoming sequel in 2019. And something about that just puts another big smile on my face. This is the same kind of smile you get when you realize that Spider-Man Homecoming just ASM2'd its marketing. It's such beautiful stupidity that I just want to have it become a physical entity that I could take a picture of and put on my wall and stare at it and think to myself, holy shit, something this stubbornly moronic actually exists in a physical form. It's fucking beautiful. I love it. It's absolutely spectacular. Ha ha ha. I did a Spider-Man pun. But yeah, fuck both these trailers for different reasons. Fuck the politics around them. And fuck the inevitable people who will hate me for hating both of these. But yeah, my goal in life has been accomplished. I have officially hated two big DC and Marvel things respectively, and god damn it, I do not regret a second of it. What did you guys think about the Justice League and Spider-Man Homecoming trailers? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Please comment down in the comments below, and I'll probably see you next time. Bye.